I just watched this really funny video on Twitter, and I think I'm going to insert it here because it's just so funny.
You mean one, you really are a hero. No,
Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. So this is going up in the month of April, and in the month of April, I'm going to try and be a lot more professional with my videos. And not to say, like, you know, they're going to be good, but I'm actually going to put a lot more effort into editing them. Even these long RuPaul's Drag Race videos, I'm doing some videos where I'm going to be scripting them and just doing the audio, and then I'll do some nice, cute, little funny visuals. And I'm generally just going to try and keep a bit more concise, a bit less, Let's get to this video, which is a review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12, Episode 5. This week was an acting challenge, Gaze Anatomy, and I've kind of been waiting for them to do a medical drama challenge for a while. I was surprised it took them 12 seasons to think of doing that, because I think it's just such a fun situation, ripe for, like, jokes. Like, the amount of, there's loads of jokes about, I've been here for 69 seasons. I mean years, because Grey's Anatomy has been going on for, whoa, so long. Improv and acting are very, very different. Improv is a different skill to being able to act, so I'm glad they have had a proper acting challenge. Even though there was also improv in this acting challenge, depending on which role you got. You can't escape improv, apparently. So, but that's... I don't want to skip ahead. No. Beginning episode, everyone comes back. In the trailer, they edited it to make it look like Jada was talking to Widow, but Jada was actually talking to Aiden and saying, I think you should have been in the bottom. And I get it. After more reflection, I do think that Aiden was more deserving of being in the bottom than at least Rockham. I think Rockham didn't do great. And I think maybe Rockham did deserve bottom 3, but looking back on it, I think Aiden definitely was just worthy of lip sync. And I think I don't know what her lip sync ability is like, but I'm guessing to S&M she probably would have gone home unless she would have, like, done, like, a really cool, like, creepy version of it. Maybe she would have survived. Everyone was heartbroken about Rockham going home, which I understand, because, and they were all, like, crying because obviously it wasn't just an edit of making it louder. Like, they could actually hear her wailing as she walked off stage. And it was a sweet moment. It was a sweet moment. So they come back after, you know, the night, sleeping, I don't know what they do. And Ru's there in his medical coat. I was a bit surprised that they had a mini challenge, but it wasn't. It was just a game of luck. It was an excuse to have the pit crew in cute little nurses outfits. You can probably hear cutlery clanking and clinking. I'm sorry, I don't know what you expect from me. It was like it was a nice excuse to get the pit crew in doctor and nurse outfits. And it was funny. I think it was Jackie, when he was putting the stethoscope up to them, which was completely unnecessary, but I guess it was campy and cute. She, like, put her arms up and was like, was basically giving him fuck me eyes. So Nikki and Gigi get the pills, which is, I guess, funny because it's a coincidental both the fashion girls are now picking the roles for an acting challenge. But you'll see later that Gigi is not just a fashion girl, whereas Nikki kind of, from what we saw on the show, Nikki seems to be good at fashion, and then everything else she's lacking confidence. But then again, that's also the edit, and the environment of the show is very different to drag. So she could be a great actress for all we know. There's a little flick here, but I can't get rid of it, so it's staying there. So they get, like, people asking them, what, you know, can I have this role? Can I have this role? The only people they really piss off that we see is Aiden and Widow. Aiden wasn't as pissed as Widow, but I still thought it was a little bit like, well, I guess I'll have to be okay with it. It's like, they can't give everyone the role they want. Especially in Widow's case. Widow was more mad, even though there was less reason to be. Like, Sherry wanted it and you wanted it. Not both of you couldn't have it. So they picked Sherry, and Sherry ended up doing great with it, so now you understand why they picked Sherry. And I think when they edited her being, these fucking bitches, I don't think she was talking about that, because she looked really, like, upset and angry in that confessional. All they did was pick you the role you didn't want. So unless Widow's just a bit of a drama queen, I don't see Widow being like, these fucking bitches. They're rehearsing their lines. Rue comes round and is like, hi, hi, hi. He says hello, 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 so I don't... Anyway, Aiden gives a bit of Mae West. Now, obviously, you know I always love June Pink, but I do disagree with her on some things. She was saying how they were like, oh, it's a Mae West character, or Mae West type, and, you know, you have to do... And then she started doing Alaska's Mae West. I'm like, but in the script, it literally says, why don't you come up and IV me sometime? So, like, it was definitely meant to be a Mae West impersonation. It's literally a line based on Alaska's impression of Mae West. And, like, it wasn't as good as Alaska's Mae West, obviously, but that was the role she was given. And I thought it was really funny before when she went, boo, like, after she got given the role. I thought that was really funny. I don't know, maybe I'm the only person that thought Aiden did well in this challenge. And who else did we see talking? Nikki was... They did talk. Like, because they did that thing where they arbitrarily have, like, divided the group into two for no real reason. But obviously they can't have Rue talk to all 10 girls at the same... Or all 11 girls at the same time. I mean, literally at this point, I'm starting to just wipe Alison out of my mind. I'm literally going, oh, we have 10 queens left. I was like, wait, no, we don't, we have 11. They end up doing their rehearsal for the challenge, cast and directs. I feel like, does Michelle still direct? I feel like it's been a while since Michelle and Rue. I know they directed the season 7 Shakespeare challenge, but I don't remember the last time after that they were directing. Jade is struggling. And the thing is, I'm not like a professional actor, but like I did drama, I understand acting cues. What Carson was asking of her is, instead of being like, Dr. Meredith Gay, blah, 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 in room 1, she was asking to be like, Dr. Meredith Gay, you got this in room 1, you got this in this room, and you gotta go in the waiting room, because there's some bitch waiting. Like, obviously that's not what the line was, but you're meant... I guess it's difficult, especially if you're not used to learning lines, but that he wanted them to, like, spout it off like they were the bossy head of department, being like, okay, you got this, you got this, you got this, okay, I'm out, I'm gonna sit at the desk. Like, that was what they wanted, but she didn't really get that. In the final cut, she was still doing the spacing out, so I don't know if that's the best they got from her. When Britta and Aiden are doing their little bit, which, by the way, made the least sense of all the little segments, because there was no build-up to them having a relationship, which I thought was a bit weird. I guess maybe that is like... I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. I've watched bits of Doctors and Casualty, though, and Holby City, which are English shows, and they will often have, oh, my patient I fall in love with, or someone I fall in love with becomes a patient. Anyway, we're off topic. Aiden, I think was doing okay, and then she does loosen up. She starts being like, oh, why don't you come over now and view me sometime? You know, and yes, it's basically just an exaggerated shoulder action. That's about as far as her performance goes. It felt a bit more fun, and I liked, there was, whenever Britta would say a line, she'd just go, oh, like... What kind of reaction is that? Just, oh, to everything. And Britta was also not getting the notes. Because, in the final performance, when she says, you have RAS, she was meant to get out of the character, not the RAS. She's meant to go, I'm afraid you have RAS, and sort of play it straight to make the rest of her performance, like, contrast. You need highs and lows. Whereas in that whole scene, she was just a constant wailing mess. Gigi was doing good. Jackie was doing good, I think. Was Jackie messing up her line? I think Jackie did have a little bit of trouble with her lines, if I remember correctly, but he didn't play into it all that much. In rehearsal, Carson liked what Heidi and Crystal were doing, which we'll get to later. We didn't see any notes, we just saw him going, that was, you know, good job. And then with Widow and Nikki, Widow was doing really good. Again, Widow and Nikki seemed to have a lot more improv than everyone else did, which, again, why? And someone said, do they think that Gigi was sabotaging? I think it was Uki Lee. I say Uki Lee, I don't know if it's Uki Lee, I say Uki Lee. But Gigi, because Gigi convinced Nikki to take a role where she would be partnered with Widow doing improv. Now, Gigi might have been subliminally being like, but I don't know if she was literally, like, You're going to lose. And during that, she was struggling, Nikki was, doing the classic pretty girl idea of loosening up, which is doing ugly makeup. And then Carson was like, speak more French, which was a cool idea. And they've literally been the whole season going, speak French. But I think the problem is that she was speaking a little bit of French, but I don't think what she was saying was like, I think it's a bit awkward because it kind of has to be basic French, so that, or have it be basic French so the audience has a decent idea of what you're saying, or do a thing where you speak a lot of French and then put an English word in, like blah 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 blah, blah whore or bitch or all those things, and then I don't know, just stuff like that. That would have been quite funny, and it's the fact Nikki didn't have a shtick. Widow had, I'm a party animal, I'm having a baby, I don't want it, I'm sick of this. But I think Nikki in the script was given like nothing as a character, so she had to actually make something of it. So then they go back to the workroom the next day to do their makeup, and the discussion of mums comes about, and it felt very real. I think the mirror moments this season are feeling much more real than they were in previous seasons, especially stuff like season 9, where every week they'd be like, so tell us about this tragic story. Oh, turns into Mae West hour. And there was a couple stories. I think Jackie talking about her mum and not being able to be his authentic self in front of his mum, and the person who's meant to support you most in the world not wanting you to go forth and do what you love and what you're passionate about. It's very difficult, and I always remember stuff like this makes me remember I'm very lucky to have a very supportive mum, and my dad used to be very iffy on the topic of me being gay and me doing makeup, but he just came around to it, and I think he's just got an attitude of, not that he's like, yeah, go, like my mum would be if I became a drag queen, but my dad, it's almost like, you're old enough to do what you want now, I'm going to support you in whatever you want to do, even if makeup and drag isn't something I would have wanted for you when you were younger. That's kind of his mentality. But Jackie gets really choked up about it. And then, after all that, Widow then comes out and says that his mum died in a car crash when he was 17. And that was bad enough, but then when I heard, and I think it's most people's biggest fear, it's one of my biggest fears, the last thing he said to her was when they were speaking in an argument. So there was no closure. And I think Trinity had something similar. Trinity the Tuck with her gran, I think, who looked after him. And I think it's the fact also that I am 17 now, and I was trying to imagine what I would do if my mum died in a car crash, and if the last thing I said to her was something out of anger. And I think it would take me a long time, if at all, to finally sort of come to terms with that and repair myself and have faith that my mum would love me wherever she is now. And I think Widow has made some of that journey, but obviously it's always going to be upsetting talking about parents and talking about mums specifically. It's something that we didn't even hear on the show, but Heidi was talking about. I think the day of filming, the challenge was Heidi's mum's birthday, and she died when he was really young. And I feel like I don't know if she mentioned it, and they edited it out, because they are very much like they go through what you want to have like out there, like they did with Blair when she talked about her being raped. They were like, do you want us to show this, or would you like us to cut this out? Because I think even if it's not out of a caring position, which I hope it would be, but it might not be, producers aren't always looking after the contestants' intentions. It probably just comes from a place of, you do not want to risk putting that out there, and the contestant being like, I did not want that out there, you did not ask me, how dare you, because that is, especially for a season with bad enough publicity already, you don't want that. But then again, Heidi said it anyway, so I don't know if she talked about it and they edited it out, I don't know, but, mums and parents and guardians are always going to be a touchy topic with the queer community, and I'm hoping that my generation, when I'm the same age as most of the contestants here, who seem to fall into the 20 to 30 category mostly, I'm hoping that when we're that old, it's less of a thing to be like, oh, so how did your mother kick you out, and how were you disowned? I'm hoping that there's a bit more. Still, there's not going to be perfect, but I'm hoping there's more people, and it's more generalised and more common for people to be like, yeah, my parents were like cool with it. So yeah, that was emotional. We went to the main stage. I always forget to mention something in my reviews. I'll probably forget to mention something that I'll talk about next week. But RuPaul's dress last week was beautiful. I loved it. I loved the hair. I loved the over the shoulderness. Wow. But her dress this week was, I think, really classic. She wore ginger hair again. It was a lot more orangey though. She wore ginger. Was it episode 3 she wore orange hair? Or was it episode 2? It was one of them. She wore like ginger hair. It was a bit more ginger this time, and I'm wondering if she was like leftover wigs from AJ and the Queen or something. Or maybe she, after AJ and the Queen, she was just like, I want to wear more red. Red and orange, go me. Especially as orange is her favourite colour, apparently. Green especially looks really good on Ru. Especially when she wears ginger hair. So, you know, lovely. Now that I'm off my Ru tangent, the guest judge this week is Normani, who I'm not particularly... Obviously, I know her name. Like, I feel like most people who are up to date with pop culture know her name. I feel like she didn't say a lot. Of all the judges, I feel like she really didn't get to say a lot, and I'm also shooketh that they did not use a Normani song, which I actually think is a bit insulting. I think if I'd been Normani, they might invite me for a guest judge. First of all, she must have been like, do you want to use one of my songs? Maybe Normani didn't want them to use a song, but like, she wanted to be a guest judge, so... You know, I'm just pleading and hoping that maybe when Whoopi Goldberg's on, we'll get a song from Sister Act. Maybe, who knows. The runway theme is Planet of the Capes, which was a good runway theme. They've actually had decent runway themes this year, because some seasons they really feel like they're running out of things. I feel like any season with a colour runway, just automatically it feels like you have to think of a new colour for the runway because you couldn't think of anything better. Aiden Zane. Now, I actually quite liked this, despite, again, it's quite simple. But I loved it. Was like black velvet, if you please. There was like a little like bow around here. It wasn't tight, which I liked. I did like the cape. I liked the sort of fascinator hat. I liked the butterfly in the mouth, and I thought that was really clever. And that was it's like is Silence of the Lambs a horror film? I guess so. I don't know, but it's kind of that area of film. Silence of the Lambs is not, that image of the butterfly in the mouth is not something I would have ever thought of doing. And the fact that apparently that cape is actually in the film, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't remember that, but obviously I wasn't looking out for black and red capes. Now here is my issue. Her makeup is the most boring of all the queens, because the base of it is always the same. The way she does her eye and her lip is always the same. All she does is change the colour of the lip, and she's been slightly changing the colour of her eyeshadow, but it's always basically been the same, like, reddy, purpley, browny kind of mix, and that's all we're getting from her. So she needs to change that up. Especially if she had the butterfly in the mouth. I thought she could have done like a cool eye look. Maybe done something that sort of represented the butterfly wings. Something. Because I'm worried that Aiden does not know how to do makeup other than the makeup she does. Which is probably shown by the fact that in the challenge, her lipstick, I don't know if it's deliberate, but it looked fucking terrible. Possibly because she tried to do like a really big over-the-top lip, but that's not what she does. So she hasn't got any range. Like, if I was going on Drag Race, I would at least try, let's say I have like a signature style, I would at least perfect, if my style was really out there like Rockham, I'd perfect doing more natural makeup. Or if it's a bit more subtle, I'd experiment with doing experimental makeup, you know, avant-garde, as the kids say. But But yeah, I guess it was still like an alright look. I don't think the cape was much of a centerpiece though, which it stood out, but that's only because it had red on it. And it was a bit short. It was a bit short for a Planet of the Capes runway for me. Now we have Britta. Now, I don't know how she was not called out for that terrible nude illusion that was way too many shades too dark. The actual outfit was really nice. I liked the outfit, and I liked the hair, and I even liked the cape. But I do get that for a cape runway, it was not cape enough. It was too focused on the actual dress, or chap's dress thing, than it was the actual cape. Then we had Crystal Method. So she has toned down her makeup generally. And thing is, I think she looks really beautiful. I actually prefer her new makeup. However, I still stand by, I don't think she should have had to change it. I'm not sure what kind of makeup she's rocking at the moment. What the hell is on me? I'm not sure what kind of makeup she's rocking at the moment, but, you know, I hope she hasn't just changed that. But to be fair though, I think she's so good at makeup. I think now she probably just is a bit more varied with like how big her lips are depending on what look she's doing, which is, I guess, good for her. But the actual outfit, I think I liked. It wasn't the best fitting, but I liked the yellow and purple. I liked it, obviously, lined purple. The green shoes that she wore walking into the workroom on the first day were ugly with this look. And I've like gotten used to her over accessorizing, like it's her thing. Gigi Good, oh my god. Phyllis Neffler. Phyllis Neffler. So when she walked out, I was like, oh my god, slay. And then I was like, I hiccuped apparently. I am getting a little bit tired of this same really low V neckline. And I think that she should have gone a bit more true to the actual look. I think it should have been a huge cape. I think it should have been long sleeves. I liked how it was, and I did like the look, but I also think she should have done the big hair, you know. I'm just waiting for someone to do the actual dress, that, you know, that sort of two-tone dress she wears when she falls. Did she fall in the pool or the fountain? You know, when she gets wet in the two-tone dress. I need to watch that film again. It's been too long. Heidi didn't love the outfit, but I didn't dislike it as much as they did. Someone nailed it on the head when they said it was a pride look. I'm like, yes. All black and then a huge rainbow cape. I did prefer the one she put on her Instagram, which is where the bodysuit was very similar to the cape and she had that sort of dark blue hair with it. I actually really did like that. But I feel like if she'd worn it on the runway, they'd have been like, it's too muddy. We don't get what you're wearing. She couldn't win. But I liked it, you know. Maybe I have bad taste. Just Jan. And I think this was like a decent runway. Like, no one really did terribly, in my opinion. I really liked this outfit. I do think it was a bit simple, and I think she pulled out the rucksack cape parachute too fast, too quickly. But it was good. I really liked it, and I think she's basically becoming known as the queen that you can never guess what she's going to wear on the runway. But the fact that even though she was she was high, she is still not getting critiqued. It kills me. Jackie Cox, again, I think her problem is her outfits are way too costumey, and I'm not sure how she would fix that in the future. Well, it's too late now. But it was like nice though. It was a bit, at least the concept was a bit more interesting for once. Yeah, it was nice. And then I did quite like Jada's, but the colour was really different because of the lights. Like, back in season 9, I think, is when the lights were at their worst, when you literally couldn't see what Sasha Velour was wearing because it made the dress, like, unseeable. In the top 4 episode. But it was, in reality, it was, like, orange, but on the runway it looked pink. It was, like, nice. It wasn't my favourite. I'm never a huge fan of the really big, tall hair, but, you know, it looked fine. Nikki Doe. Oh, excuse me. Joan of Arc realness. Loved her hair. Actually loved the outfit. Shame the cape wasn't much of a centerpiece, and the sort of thing she was wearing when she walked in, which was a bit more like an actual big cape, she should have kept on, I think, for most of it. Take it off, you know, towards the end of the runway. And then we had Alison, who... It's a shame because, again, I like the look. My only problem is she's becoming a bit predictable in that she will take a reference, whether it be Miss Trunchbull or Scooby-Doo or Elvis, and then she'll make it into a gown. She never does anything else with it. She just turns it into a gown, which is, yeah, at this point, I've seen that from you now twice on the runway, thrice if you include the outfit you wore, I think, to the Drag Race Live premiere. Widow, Barn, Do. Didn't love this. It was a cute idea. I think my problem is that she had different tones of green with like her hair and her outfit. It needed all to match. And I think the cape needed to actually be attached to her full arm, not from like end to end, and there's like a little gap here where you can see the hole. I want it to be like a squirrel suit. Is that what they're called? That's what I call them. And obviously watermelons are a bit more reddy than bright pink, so I think that would have made it a bit more clear, because I didn't know what she was until she explained it to me. It was probably the worst outfit on the runway, actually, which will then make sense a little bit later. Well, not a little bit later, immediately. So, rather peculiarly, is that a word? Rather oddly, they did the thing they usually do with the team challenges, which is where the high contestants go backstage and get to sit and chill, and the safe and the bottom ones are critiqued. Which I'm not sure why they did. I don't know what... Because they should have done that in episode 3, because that makes more sense. I think it might have been because... I haven't actually talked about the challenge. I'm going to talk about the challenge performances in a minute, because I've decided to do this first. I'm a rebel. Because it was so even out, and I will say it was very hard to distinguish who was the best and who was the worst, because everyone did a pretty good job. I think it was easier for them to pick out the 5 worst than pick out the 3 best and the 3 worst. Aiden, Zane and Britta ended a good job, I thought. Wasn't excellent, but I thought she was funny enough. And then Britta was one of the main ones, like the main 3 doctors. I had a particular thing with Aiden, and she wasn't bad. She wasn't bad, but I think she definitely stood out as one of the least memorable. And she took direction not very well. So Heidi and Crystal were like fine. They were fine. But their roles just were a bit odd. Like, unlike everyone else who appeared multiple times, they kind of just appeared, did their little thing, which was a bit random anyway, and then went home. You know, they just left the skit. I'm sitting like this now. I think you're welcome. Then we had... Gigi was quite funny. She didn't actually have a lot to say, which she did a lot with actually a surprisingly small role. Then we had Jada as the boss, and she wasn't bad. That's what I'm gonna say about everyone. She wasn't bad, but she stood out as one of the least funny. And then Jan and Jackie were the 2 Meredith gays, and Jackie was actually really good. I really liked how she changed her voice. I actually thought she had when I was watching it, I was like, okay, Jackie's got a decent chance of winning. Jan was really good again, even though she wasn't in it as much as Jackie was. I loved when she pulled Gigi out of the way. Like, she threw her onto the floor. And then you had the nonsensical, like, now you've got Britta walking with 2 different Meredith gays. I don't know, I just thought it was funny. And then when she was screaming, that was good. Nikki and Widow was good. I enjoyed Widow, one of the best. I've got pins and needles, so this is gonna be an awkward review now. And Nikki was probably the worst of the whole team, but she had somewhat decent moments. And then Alison was actually really good. Was actually the best. And she had, of the 3 top people that I think were Jackie, Widow, and Alison, I think Alison had the best runway look. So, back to the performance, back to the critiques and that stuff. Shupper winning makes sense, but I'm like, you really shot yourself in the foot. And it said about how they donated $5,000 to the Trevor Project, so I'm hoping that means they donated a further $5,000 rather than just giving the same notice about the previous $5,000. Thing is, if she wasn't disqualified, she'd be the front runner. Like, because she'd literally been doing well in every every challenge. Oh, why always hiccups during my reviews? I never get hiccups during normal life. So, on the runway, Jada and Crystal are, like, deemed safe. Like, they were in the bottom 5, but they were, like, safe. Crystal got the best critiques. Like, she didn't really get any negative critiques apart from the fact that she was wearing green shoes. So it was all a little bit confusing as to why she was there. And then Jada, I think she was saved by her runway look and the fact that she wasn't bad. I'm switching legs. Oh, hit the table. The bottom 2 was Nikki and Heidi, which I think it should have been Nikki and Britta, to be honest. And I think I was glad that Heidi lip synced because she gave us the best lip sync performance of the season so far. After not including the first 2, because the first 2 don't count. I don't think, because like they're the 2 best of the week, and it turns out that Gigi, Widow, and Jada are all great lip syncers. So that doesn't count. But of lip syncs for your life, this is the first time we've actually seen a decent performance from one of the contestants. Nikki did like okay, and Nikki didn't know all the words perfectly. But like Heidi definitely outdid her, even with her wig coming off, even with other things. But like she was good. Pins and needles, is it son of a bitch? Yeah, she was good. I enjoyed Heidi. I don't think she should have been there. I think it should have been Britta. I'm honestly surprised by how badly Britta's doing, because like, oh my god, I've skipped. Okay, I'm getting close to the camera because the pins and needles is getting unbearable. She did quite well in the first episode. I'd say she probably did. I think she got a high placement. I don't know. She did well in the first episode, but then improv she was safe. Pardon me. Improv she was safe. Then she was in the bottom 2, and then she was in the bottom 3 this week. And I don't know if she's going to be good at Snatch Game. Like, in the nicest possible way, what is she good at? Can I ask you a perfectly fair question? What do you do successfully? Quickly. Like, that's what I'm thinking, because you can't make outfits. You're not as good an actress as you seem to, based on this challenge, I don't know her personally, you're not as good as an actress as you seem to make out you were. And you were safe in the improv challenge, which you yourself declared should have been something that you excelled at. And I don't see her being good at Snatch Game unless she goes the route that some people do, which is go with a character that's very similar to yourself. Which I could see her doing. So yeah. But yeah, I'm sad to see Nikki go. At least she looked fabulous when she left. And I'm hoping that Heidi... This is a very brief stop for Heidi and she gets to go back to the top. Pardon me. I feel like at this point the only person who I think has a chance of being the lip sync assassin is Heidi, because I don't see Widow, Jada, or Gigi being in the bottom very much, if at all. So, well, they probably will be at least once, but like I don't see them being there very often. And to be a lip sync assassin, you have to land in the bottom a decent few times. And I think Heidi, I don't know if Heidi's going to make it to the end. She probably won't, to be honest. Like, if I had to guess, with Alison disqualified, I think the top 3 will probably be, at this rate, I think Gigi, Jada, and Widow, to be fair. I think it seems obvious because they were in the top in the first 2 weeks. But Jackie and Jan, despite being good, have failed to break through to really make an impact on the show. Like, I'm not remembering them, pardon me, when it comes to their placements. And I feel like Jan would fit perfectly into the Ms. Cracker Pandora box, sort of box, which is a fan favourite who gets eliminated. Oh, and Nina West, that kind of category. You know, getting eliminated, you know, being a fan favourite and getting eliminated just before the end. So that's what I suspect will probably happen with Miss Jan. So, Untucked. I haven't watched Untucked because, again, it's really awkward to try and find a way to watch them. I've only watched the ones for 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, and 3. I haven't watched episode 4 or 5 of Untouched, but I've seen the clip of some clips from this week's Untucked. Basically, everyone's like talking to Aiden. I haven't really seen the whole conversation, but it seems that everyone is talking at her and telling her what they think about her, and it's all pretty. Maybe it might still be constructive, but when you are alone and no one is standing up for you, and everyone is saying what they have a problem with you for, and everyone's like nodding their head and agree, it's gonna be awkward and awful, and it's gonna feel awful. Apparently Jada said something that came off as bullying. That's because she didn't get to finish her sentence. I think the main thing is Britta's butthurt. That's what happened. Britta was butthurt, and Britta has built a vendetta against Aiden, which is really pissing me off. Because focus on yourself. Aiden's none of your concern. I don't know why Britta... It's like Fifi and Sharon. I think Britta has built some fixation on Aiden, and is not going to be happy until Aiden fails and Britta succeeds. Like, if Britta does well, she'll be like, great. But if Aiden also does well that same week, she'll be like, no, you shouldn't have been in the top. And then Heidi steps in and is like, leave her alone. This doesn't matter. I'm lip sync. I was with Heidi. It doesn't matter. And it was like, oh, we're not. And then people are like, we're not bullying. It's like, not saying you were trying to, but when everyone is talking to someone, saying that what is wrong, or what someone is doing wrong, and no one is standing up for them, it's just Aiden versus the nine other bitches in the room. It's gonna feel like that. And it doesn't matter, because the main topic of the conversation is you should have been in the bottom, and the fact is she wasn't, because Rue didn't think she should have been. So it's not her problem. And okay, that's what the conversation was about, her not putting effort in because she was sleeping during the previous challenge. Which I kind of get where they were coming from, but I think it's just do a one-to-one, be like, hey, I don't want to talk to you. You know, I think a lot of us have similar feelings about this whole topic, you know, about you, not putting effort in. But like, I don't know. I watched the whole thing, and basically, yeah, it was just what I thought. The people really coming for her were Aiden, were Jada, Bitter Britta, as I've now named her, and Nikki. And they were all in the bottom. And I do think it came from a place of... Honestly, I think the reason it came up was because they were all bitter, because they all thought they were better than Aiden. And I'm like, I don't get what's your problem with Aiden. Your problem should be with Rue, who's making these decisions. Which is why if I was Aiden, I'd have been like... Would you like to, when you go back on stage, do you want to chat with Rue and ask her why she's done it? Because don't come at me, because it's not my fault that Rue made that decision. That's what I would have pulled him up and been like, if you want to talk to me about this now, then you better go out and talk to Rue about it, because it's not my fault. It's not my problem. It's yours. It's between you and Rue. And then Jackie was trying to be reasonable and see both sides, and was like, you know, you haven't come over to Kiki with us, so we're not going to jump to your defence. And I'm like, but Heidi did, because I think Heidi has a good idea of what's wrong and right. Yes, okay, maybe your intention wasn't to attack, but you had Britta, Nikki, and Jada all going after her, and I'm saying going after her, basically. Not really as much Nikki, but Nikki wasn't helping. Basically being like, you don't deserve to be here, but you don't deserve to be safe. All these things, and everyone was basically just sitting there, and most people were just sort of, or not saying anything, or finding it amusing. And as much as I like Gigi and Jan, I didn't like how they then hyped up Britta, and were like, yeah, you need to go, oh, I don't belong in the bottom. You belong at home, because with this attitude, I want you to be eliminated. I'm really sick of her, because Aiden's got her exactly right. She thinks that because she's good in New York and she's won Entertainer of the Year, whatever, she's gonna slate here. You're not owed anything in this competition, and that is what your problem is you are now acting like you deserve to do well because of your work in New York, and you cannot accept that you have not done well in the challenges. And also, Aiden had a point. The whole competition, 3 girls, 1 brain, you know, the whole thing, you know, when Sherry and Britta were like, we carried you. And I wish Aiden had been like, well, if I'd been able to get a word in edgeways, I might have been able to lead you. Honestly, I'm done. I'm pretty much done with Britta. Jada is very back and forth with me. Jada, by episode, sometimes I like her, sometimes I don't. I don't think she's trying to be nasty, and I don't think we need yet another angry black girl edit for another black queen, because that's always what they seem to go for. But like, it's whenever she's talking about other people, it's when I don't like her as much, because there's something about it. Um and I think, when on like social media she's been saying, "Oh, I wasn't bullying her." No, you weren't. You weren't bullying her. Um but you weren't helping the situation, and you weren't being very nice about it, which again is also perhaps Aiden's fault for not making an effort, but whatever. So yeah, I just thought I'd say this so I could get this out there, and that's Untucked for you. Right, hope you enjoyed. Hope you're enjoying a bit more professionalism, a bit more editing and such. And I will see you guys in the next one. Ugh. I shaved today, and I feel so new.